Man, I got to do something about that intro. That is way too damn long. Well, welcome everybody. Tony Jigsaw Cotillo here, Fantasy Firebox episode 27. Joined as always by Jason Sullivan, Dan Green, Mr. John Coker cannot make it tonight. And first things first, let me just throw the elephant in the room out there for a couple things. Number one, you guys on a personal level, everybody knows I've been dealing with some COVID issues inside the family, continues to get worse day by day. So I apologize. I'm here, there, I'm everywhere. So yesterday we decided not to do the show only because honestly, I wasn't with it. I really didn't feel like doing it. And I just had a lot of other things on my mind. But that being said, this is my outlet. So I talked to Dan earlier, who was going to host a show for his first time for me, which I greatly appreciate. And I was willing to go ahead, and my wife kind of was like, no, you need to go do this. It's your outlet. Go get it out of your system. I'm like, all right, you know what? Good. And after 5 minutes, I already felt at home. So first things first, also, my dumb ass decided that I'm going to, at 1 a.m. in the morning, clean up our Twitter account for iHeart Radio Sports. And I clicked the wrong thing and put in the wrong birth date, which I thought was a joint date, and get locked out. So as of right now, Twitter account's locked out. They tell me in 72 hours we'll get it back. I don't know. If not, by Monday, we'll have a new one. All is well. There's worse things in the world. But I'm going to go right to Dan, and I'm still going to let Dan run this show, because Dan had come up with a tremendous a list of topics and conversation points, and I really appreciate everything. And listen, I'm going to say this. We debuted. Jason was part of it. Brand new show on Monday. Fairway to Heaven. I got nothing but rave reviews from it. This thing is growing. Appreciate everybody's support. We're still 6 out of 7 days. Show every night. And content with that. You're not just going to see a show every day. You're also going to see content on the page, on the YouTube page, on the Twitter page when it gets reconnected, or a new one, but everywhere. Get to know our personalities. Give us support. We'll get back to you. Let's make this a family. But Dan, I'm going to go right to you. What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing fine. I mean, I feel like, as many know, I'm a teacher, and now I feel like my principal's observing me right now. So it's, I got all this pressure on my shoulders. But now, all kidding aside, listen, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your wife pushed you to do it, because this show is not the same without you. But I'll be happy to talk a little more tonight. Gives me practice for Thursdays anyway.
Well, so, you know what? Listen, Jason, I don't think he has a problem with that, by the way. Talking a little more? No way.
No. I'm good with it. No. Yeah, like Dan said, just to echo him, prayers for your family, definitely. We're always here for you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I need this from time to time. Let me tell you, definitely need this.
All right, well, Jason, as Tony referenced, I thought your show on Monday was terrific. It's called Fairway to Heaven. If anyone missed Tony's intro, you and Phil were tremendous. So first off, how was your week, and how did you feel your show went?
First off, the show, it was a lot of fun. We both, our passion is golf when it comes to DFS, so we had a great time doing it. We stumbled a few times. It'll get better, I promise. we didn't really prep too much before, but we'll do that going forward more. And it's definitely a lot of fun. And last week's DFS was kind of a mixed bag for me. It was kind of a rough week in some spots, but then other lineups hit. Some games that I thought were going to hit didn't, so it's kind of a bummer. But yeah, it's kind of a break-even week. What about you?
That was going to be my first question to both of you, was how the divisional round went for you. And it's funny, on my DraftKings entries, I broke even. I put 6 lineups in. I covered my entry fees. My fantasy playoff league that I'm doing, that I've referenced, is a kind of a suicide per week where you can't use the players ever again. I went from third place to like bottom tier quickly because Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Chubb, Godwin, they all killed me. So that's how my divisional weekend went with my DFS and fantasy. Tone, how did you do?
You know what? I didn't do too bad. I kind of broke even as well. I had a lot of good play on our lineup that we put in. I didn't win a lot of money. Kind of broke even. But the lineup that we put up here with DraftKings was actually my best scoring lineup.
And one guy didn't Harris go out early in that game too?
Yes, we had. I'm trying to pull it up now to make sure, but we had Brady as our quarterback. Who, listen, he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad.
Yeah,
right. I mean, for everybody that picked Lamar Jackson, guess what? Didn't work too well. We had Hollywood Brown, who did well. The Rams defense didn't do great for us.
-1.
We should have picked the Browns. The Browns defense went off, right? But here's the thing. We didn't have anybody. Wait, I don't know if you guys realize this. I didn't realize I was working, but we didn't have anybody from the Browns or the Chiefs in our lineup. Our lineup, where was no Browns, no Chiefs. So it was
that's because John altered things on the fly. If you recall, we kind of were planning to have that scenario, and then he just started plugging things in, and we went on it. And then we started building around finances versus players on teams.
Yeah,
remember?
That's true. Yep.
So that's all right. It was still a blast, and I'd like to maybe potentially do that tonight. But Jason's going to be John. He's typing it in, not me or you, Tony.
Yeah, I like
there you
it.
go.
I like it.
So, Jason, I wanted to ask you real fast, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You referenced doing try and even quad stacks for the playoffs. Can you elaborate on how that went for you, and the late lineup adjustment idea you referenced as well?
Yeah, definitely 2 huge points. As far as the try or quad stacks, so it worked huge for me the week before. Probably my best week of the season. Actually, definitely my best week of the season. I used the Tampa Bay stack. So I came back and I got a little greedy and I tried to use the exact same stack again. I had Brady, Gronk, Brown, and Evans. Well, like you said, they were all okay. I think they scored all the receivers scored 10 points or so. Nobody blew up. That was the biggest problem. I had an okay week with that lineup. My other lineup, I went with a little bit of Lamar Jackson at the last second. I kind of did something I don't like to do, and I kind of panicked. And instead of going on my week's research, at the last second, I kind of came up and was like, oh my God, I need to get some of this Bills Ravens game. I thought everybody was going to go Buffalo, so I tried to go the flip side of it. It was kind of mixed results for the most part, like I said, but I had good pieces, but I just couldn't piece together the perfect lineup. So I would still recommend that, especially this week. The lineups there's going to be a lot of duplicate lineups. You're going to want to do something to differentiate yourself. And obviously there's only 4 teams to choose from. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It's definitely not going to be easy.
No, but the pros and cons to it are replication is going to be an issue, but the pros are, it's like, how can you miss? How can you miss? There's only so many, no one's going to be playing Darwin Thompson. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's right. They're going to go with certain obvious guys. The key is, do you go Fournette? Do you go Jones? And we'll talk about that later, I guess.
You know what, too, last week, it wasn't the worst week to not play the Chiefs. If you happened to fade the Chiefs, you got kind of lucky because Mahomes got hurt. I mean, I don't know if I would assume he's going to play this week, but we got kind of lucky with Mahomes only scoring 21 points. It kind of bailed everybody out that didn't play him.
No, you're absolutely right, man. Did you see when he got picked up, man? He was like, that was for all you Philadelphia fans, that was like a Louis Zendejas moment right there.
He was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
He was doing the baby giraffe walk.
Yes, you instantly knew he wasn't coming out of that tent.
No. And then you're just looking straight up in the air. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if this was in the middle of the season, do you really think he'd be playing next week?
No.
I mean, I'm almost thinking to a point where they might even be bending the rules a little bit because they got to get that guy in the lineup just to survive. And I hope that's not the case because there's nothing more important than your health. But he did not look right, and I can't see a speedy recovery happening overnight. But we'll see.
I don't know if
something
you heard
to keep an eye out.
Well, I don't know if you heard it, but what Colin Cowherd was talking about, they should postpone the game.
Oh, right.
Come on, man. Like that can't happen. Dan, you're right. If you want to bend the rules as a team, listen, we'll look the other way. But you can't give the other say, oh well, we don't want to give the other team an advance. Like, no, that's just as bad as cheating, man. Come on, you can't do that.
Yeah, you'll get. I was going to say you got Denver on the phone really fast. You really helped us out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
he also had a toe injury too. I don't know if you guys saw that. He kind of dinged up his foot in the first half. They said he might have turf toe, which is pretty painful from what I hear. So you don't want that either.
That's a bad injury.
No, it is, and that's what Antonio Gibson was suffering through, and his value started plummeting, and you could just tell he wasn't the same. He had no explosion. They said he's still in concussion protocol with limited practice today. Yeah, I have no doubt, but I still think somehow he's going to step on the field and play.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. Like, Adam, I read the same thing. Light practice, they called it. He's a gamer. There's no way he's not playing. And I'll be honest with you, even if he plays, we don't even know what capacity he's going to play in, right? You could see Chad Henne play some snaps and they do some wildcats. You know what I mean? So they have options, especially with Tyreek Hill.
That's true. And listen, a subtle thing like what Henne did in fourth down, if he has to play, maybe that skyrocketed his confidence. He's been around for 14 years, I believe. Isn't that what they said, Jason?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? 14.
Yeah.
Chad Henne.
If he plays smart, I'm sure he's an intelligent guy. And like I said, Reed will put him in a position to succeed if that is indeed the case. But my gut tells me Mahomes will play.
Yeah, me too.
You know what, too? So he was set up perfectly. I'm not sure who said. I can't remember if it was Romo or who said it during the game, but they kept saying the same point that he started week 17, and that actually probably really helped because it had only been 2 weeks prior that he actually got game action for the first time in a really long time. So him playing a game might have definitely helped because he probably wasn't so nervous and was a little bit more poised back there. He made some big plays too. So
no, he did. So Tone. It's almost apropos that you're wearing the hat you're wearing because my next little question is it's obviously out there that Phillip Rivers is officially retiring. I think we could all hang our hats on the fact that Brees is going to hang it up too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So you've got two legendary quarterbacks retiring, and you've got a whole new crop of college quarterbacks that are probably going to be drafted high, from Lawrence to Fields to Wilson to Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Trask. What are your thoughts on the old going out, the new coming in, and next year's fantasy implications as a result?
It's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least. First, for the old going out, Phillip Rivers. We used to get in discussions about Phillip Rivers versus Eli Manning all the time. It's a shame because Phillip Rivers obviously had the better numbers, but Eli's got the rings, right? So when you talk about Hall of Fame, let's except for guys like Dan Marino who never had a ring and got in, and ultimately you get that ring, you're a sure bet. But I think Rivers definitely is in that conversation. I can't see him not being in the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. I think the standards have lowered a little bit. But looking at it from a fantasy perspective, Phillip Rivers, it's a shame because I know you guys were playing fantasy just as long as me, and Phillip Rivers was always my favorite 10th round pick. I mean, he was the guy you could wait on, right? Old man Phil, you knew you were good. You didn't have to waste that pick on the almighty Michael Vick or Dante Culpepper or Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. You knew you had that stash in Phillip Rivers. And in the last couple of years, he just wasn't that guy anymore. You could tell his arm strength was down. But I seen a good quote today, and I got to remember who it was from. Forget what player it was from. It might have been it was a linebacker. But anyway, he said that he had so much respect for Phillip Rivers because Phillip Rivers is actually under center and pointed to. Oh, did you see that? It pointed. I told him, you're in the wrong position for that blitz. That's how intelligent Phillip Rivers was, and so that you just don't pick that slack. Trey Lawrence is just going to come in and have that. Right? Josh Fields isn't just going to have that. But I will tell you is I think Phillip Rivers is going to make a tremendous coach one day. I don't know if he'll be a head coach, but because
he's got to coach his kids first.
Right. Well, yeah, he's going to be like Josh McCown, get paid as an emergency quarterback coach of Little League, right? But not to get long-winded, what I will say is I'm very excited because I know we're going to talk NBA later, but when you see the amount of young talent inside the NBA from a fantasy perspective, you're starting to see that in the quarterback position from the NFL perspective. I mean, poor Joe Burrow gets hurt. I mean, he was having a fantastic year, and the future with Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow restfully he comes back.
Herbert.
But right,
rest in peace, Joe Burrow.
Right, I almost said it again. You know what I mean? I was again,
rehab in peace.
Yeah, there you go. I like that, rehab in peace. But yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure. And I'm intrigued about Trey Lawrence only because, listen, it's Jacksonville, and it's going to be his team. There's no competition. He's going to be just like Joe Burrow, thrown into the fire. So it's going to be interesting for fantasy.
Think of, what I saved this. For a show a while ago, and of course I don't have the tab up anywhere, but Jacksonville has nice wide receivers, nice group of young wide receivers. Chenault, Cole, who am I missing?
DJ Chark,
and is Westbrook coming back?
Even Mike Connolly is a nice fourth down receiver. He's a big target,
right? And so they've got some talent for the kids. So obviously line play is important. And obviously coaching is important, but he has weapons, unlike some quarterbacks that walk into a team that are bottom feeders.
Well, at least there's no more Doug Marrone.
That's true.
Doug Marrone?
No, yeah, exactly.
You know what, too, about Jacksonville? Jacksonville also has, I think it's like $92 million in cap space, something crazy. So they have room to, they got to make their defense better, obviously, but like you said, they have the receivers. They're going to have their quarterback. They got a good coach.
Good young running back.
James Robinson's a good running back, so they just got to build the lines and go from there. But yeah, I think kind of just I know you didn't ask me, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents. First of all, it was J.J. Watt that said that quote about Phillip Rivers today.
There you go. Thank you, Jason.
He was saying that too, and he's like, what the funniest part was is that he was right about it.
Yeah.
He wasn't, which I think makes him a great coach one day. I think I read today that he's going to coach high school football or something next year in Alabama. So yeah, I think. If he's a Hall of Famer or not, I agree with you. I think he probably will be because they've lowered the expectations a little bit. Yep. But I thought you brought up a great point with comparing him to Eli. If you take Eli's 2 Super Bowls away, is he a Hall of Famer? Because I don't think so.
No.
No. He was to me, he was a slightly above average quarterback, and I think Phillip Rivers was slightly better than Eli. So
Eli had some god awful years. God awful. Were more interceptions than touchdowns. Even his wonderful throw to Mario Manningham in the second Super Bowl, it was a chuck and duck.
Yeah,
he threw it and did his typical chuck and duck in fear, and he just put it on the money. I guess he mastered that technique. I'm not an Eli fan. It has nothing to do with that he's a giant. Because I'm a Peyton Manning fan. I just do not like Eli Manning as a quarterback. I think Rivers is far more the superior quarterback. And Ben's in that class too. The three of them came in together. And at one point before Eli retired, their stats were almost spot on. Like they were all around 60,000 yards together. They were all around 250 touchdowns, whatever the number was. They were all on top of each other. But the eye test told me that Rivers was better than Eli.
Andre, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, on the back of the hat it does say 11, Andre.
Yeah, I'm not unveiling the 11. I'm not unveiling it yet.
So real
You
quick,
know what,
Jason.
too?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I make one more point about Eli? So he was also blessed with something Philip Rivers wasn't blessed with, that awesome defense. Remember how good that defense was, especially the first year they won the Super Bowl? I mean, if Rivers ever had
Tuck.
If you ever had a D line like that, I think it would have been a lot different. And I think it's going to be an interesting transition next year, going from the older guys, Brees, I think he's obviously done too, and Rivers and guys like that. It's kind of strange if you think about it now that it's just assumed that when you get drafted high, you're going to start. It used to be like you got drafted, maybe you started. Even Matt Stafford, he came to a Lions team that was 0-16, and they battled to the last day of training camp, him and Dante Culpepper, to see who was going to start. And now it's like, Lawrence is going to start next year. Fields is probably going to start next year. Wilson might start next year. Lance probably not. But, I mean, you have at least 3 guys that are just pretty much shoo-ins to start, which is kind of strange.
Well, building on that, and I'm sure you will agree with me, I was having this conversation with my co-host Vance Crew on my hockey show. Vance is definitely a 4-for-4 guy. And we were talking about Mac Jones. I'm not a Mac Jones fan or a Trask fan. I don't think they have NFL arms. But visualize Mac Jones going to the Saints under Peyton. He would be successful, very serviceable right off the jump. Now, if he goes to, and I don't mean to break stones here, if he went to Detroit, for example, he would probably be the next Brandon Whedon.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean? That's how important to me coaching is in the right system. And I can't see a quarterback failing under Sean Payton.
No, I agree.
Your opinions, guys?
No, I completely agree. Coaching means everything. And, to piggyback on what Jason said and kind of bring in your conversation, Dan, what I will say is now I would say maybe the last 3 years, you've seen more than ever rookie production inside the NFL from a fantasy standpoint. I mean, because remember, we would be picking guys in the 15th to 16th rounds, a late round flyer. Now, all of a sudden, rookies, especially running backs and wide receivers, are going in the top 3 rounds. And that, again, they're more NFL ready, but also we have to remember that the NFL has kind of turned more into the college game and a spread offenses, right? They wanted that. The pass interference calls that you can't even touch a guy anymore. So, right, that's what they wanted. They wanted points, and they got them. So, yeah, listen, I mean, the one thing I will say is Dan, you're absolutely right. These guys are expected to start. And then when they're on bad teams, the funny thing is, it's a throwing league. So from a fantasy perspective, these guys are just going to be slinging the rock, man. Like, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, you absolutely are targeting a guy like Lawrence because he's going to be behind all the time, and he's going to be throwing a lot. So, yeah, it's a good point.
Yes, it's true. So a fun segment we had last week that I really had a blast with was when we, on the fly, built a lineup that you referred to that was one of your better lineups. So obviously the pool is slim to 4 teams. I don't think we can come up with a player per team anymore. So Here's my proposal, gentlemen. Let's just build the best lineup we can based on the salary cap. You got 4?
Yeah, man.
I didn't give any heads up. We're just Jason's gonna pull up we're using Jason's checkbook tonight. He's gonna pull up a lineup on DraftKings, a blank lineup, and he's gonna plug and play. So Tone, as commissioner of this fine program, we'll let you start it off. What position you want to go with in our DFS DraftKings lineup?
I know this isn't going to be a popular one, but when does Jigsaw ever go with popularity, right? When does he ever go with popularity? I'm telling you right now, I'm starting off and I'm taking Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, look what happened in the first time Tampa Bay played Aaron Rodgers and they shut him. Listen, all you need to do is go back and watch that game. And don't even watch him throw the ball. Watch one player in particular where he faked the throw and ran the ball into the end zone, something that we haven't seen in years. Aaron Rodgers is locked in. He has found a fountain of youth, and he is not taking no for an answer. If you watch him on the sidelines, that guy is focused. And I'll tell you what, if you look at the other quarterbacks, Josh Allen, love him. But I don't know. Big spotlight, right? How is he going to react? Didn't have a great game, but I still think the Bills are going to win, but don't know what he's going to do production-wise. Tom Brady, listen, is the GOAT. I get it. But I think this is the time Aaron Rodgers goes over top of him. And Mahomes, we just don't know health protocols, how he's going to be based on the concussion injury. So I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm glad you went with him. Jason, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, that's a great pick. So you basically just made my decision for me. If you put Aaron Rodgers in, I'm putting Devontae Adams in to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's no way. I think there's no way to not. I mean, he proves week in and week out. Last week he had a tough matchup. He is so much better than anyone that covers him that I just feel like you have to go with him. And to kind of piggyback on your Aaron Rodgers comment, that was also in Tampa. I feel like Green Bay in what is it going to be, January 23rd or whatever it is, 24th. That is a whole different story than playing in Tampa in September. It's going to be cold. Tampa's not used to the cold. It's going to be miserable. I mean, there might be snow. Yeah, I love Rodgers. The way he's going right now, I love Rodgers against anybody. So I love that. Love going Devontae Adams with him.
I like that.
You guys know me. I have my line. I have a lot of lineups already made up.
No way.
I'm not lying. I have each quarterback. I have 4 lineups, each quarterback's in the lineup, and I like my Aaron Rodgers lineup. So I have Rodgers, and you got to go Adams. I think I have Adams in every lineup. I'm gonna play off of Jason's theory, which I don't think is outrageous. I'm gonna stack Aaron Jones as my running back in that group.
Ooh, look at that. We're going.
I love that
stack.
Well, and I love that too, because if you look at the slate, he is by far the best running back on the slate. It's not even, there's no contest. So yes. I love that.
Back to you, Tone.
I do like that a lot. Wow. I'm trying to, listen, I'm looking at the money, and I know we can only build so much with so many, but I'll look at the tight end position, and honestly, as much as I say I go against the grain here, it's hard for me not to take Travis Kelce. And I listen, I understand that it kind of makes it sound hypocritical because I said, listen, who knows how Patrick Mahomes is going to be, but what he did again, I mean, the guy is an 8 for 110 and a touchdown machine. And he's going up against Buffalo, who one thing Buffalo doesn't do good on defense is cover the tight end. They have issues. Matt Milano, athletic linebacker. Tremaine Edwards, athletic linebacker, but they're very good against the run, not great against the pass. They're actually 28th to 29th, I think, against fantasy tight ends in DFS. So I am all over Travis Kelce, and I know he's $8,000, but I think he's very much worth it.
So do you guys want to plug in the defense right now just to kind of give us what we have? So pretty much right at this point right now, we have 4,200 per player. So I feel like we should plug in the defense. Ironically, the cheapest defense is what?
Are the Bucs the lowest this week?
The Bucs are the lowest, which isn't bad necessarily. A lot of people I've seen, I think it's like 4 or 5 times people have done that where they played the defense and the stack that they went in the same game and won the Millionaire Maker. So I don't hate it, to be honest with you, especially 2,700.
Yes, I like that.
Or we can go Buffalo. I don't like Buffalo.
No, let's go. You know how Tone and I feel about defense.
Cheapest. Okay.
Yeah, put the Jets
so we'll
in.
Plug that in.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with 4,500 per position. So we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to find some value here. So I'm gonna go with. He burned me last week, but I'm gonna go with Cole Beasley.
Oh, I like that pick.
4,100, so he'd save some money.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, because I'll tell you what, this is going to be this is turning out to be a Cole Beasley game, man. I really feel that way. I feel like they're gonna put a lot of focus on Stephon Diggs, and I think Tyrann Mathieu is going to be roaming around Stephon Diggs over the top all day long. So I think Beasley's going to own the middle of the field.
All right.
Yeah,
so
not to mention the fact that a lot of people, it's like a recency bias type of thing too. So it's a lot of people are going to see, he was, he had 2 targets last week, which is nothing. Yep. He didn't catch either one of them. He burned me for sure. I think I had him in like 4 lineups, so he burned me. So a lot of people won't go back to him. But at 4,100, sign me up for that.
He was hobbling last week, so maybe hopefully he's limited to practice and he's resting that leg because he didn't look right on the field to me. So hopefully he can, gut through it if he's indeed in a lot of pain, but that's great value. So how we feeling about Darrell Williams at running back?
It's not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick at all.
I think he's 4,800. So let's put Darrell Williams in there.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with CEH. I know he's still questionable. I know it's early, but yeah. I like that pick.
Cool. So we're looking at a wide receiver and a flex. We have $4,700 per player left. So, Tone, your pick, bud.
It's not bad. That's not bad. Man, yeah. For some reason, I get these gut feelings, right? So
I know you're going to say.
I'm looking at this Tampa game, and I just think this is Antonio Brown's spotlight. I do. For $4,700 for Antonio Brown, listen, Mike Evans is the red zone guy. He's the go-to guy for Tom Brady. But I'll tell you what, I think Gronk has been exposed a little bit as the season goes on. He's starting to wear down. That's why Cameron Brate has been a really good tight end the last couple of weeks. But Antonio Brown is really starting to exert himself because Godwin's had some drops the last couple of weeks as well. So Tom Brady, when you get on his bad side, he's just going to be looking at, and I think this is the spotlight that they want to show Antonio Brown is back. So I'm going to go Antonio Brown.
Love it.
My only question with that is he tweaked his knee in that game and did not return. And the reports I've been reading is that he hasn't practiced yet this week.
Yeah, so he was as of today, he was a non-participant in practice. Okay. You're right, but it says that they revealed no major damage. So again, this is obviously Wednesday. So if he doesn't play, well, then we make an adjustment. But I'm just going to base it on that he is playing, and use it smartly too for everybody that's listening. I mean, if you have to take him out, put somebody else in.
All right, so what are we left with, Jay?
So we're left with, hold on, let me put Brown in there here real quick. So we have 4,700 for the flex spot. So I have a pick, and I want to see what you guys think of this one, since we're doing it together. So I think we should stack even more with Rodgers. So I like Allen Lazard at 4,200, and I think so. He's a little dinged up too. If he doesn't play, I think we just switch. We put in Valdez-Scantling in that spot. Yeah, it leaves a little bit of money on the table, differentiates a little bit too, but I think we start with Lazard and then see what happens.
It's funny. I'm so with you because my last pick I was going to go MVS because I something about tells me that I know you got Winfield back there running around, but I just think they're going to focus so much on Devontae Adams that these other guys are going to be very productive.
So we can go MVS right now, even if you want to. I'm cool with that too. What do you think?
Fast. Well, it's funny in my lineup. I want to tell you my lineup. I have Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Darrell Williams, Devontae Adams. I squeezed Tyreek Hill and Diggs in my lineup. Jeez. I went Robert Tonyan at tight end.
Okay.
I have Gabriel Davis at flex, and I have the Buccaneers defense.
Listen, and that's why I say sometimes, and that's the tight end factor. It's right. Do you go $8 grand for Kelsey, or instead do you go Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs and then lower the standard for Tonyan? So I like both theories, to be honest with you. I do. For some reason, though, my own gut feels that this is going to be a number 2 receiver week for certain teams, and I just think even though Stephon Diggs has been the best NFL wide receiver for the entire season, it has been him by numbers. I think this week he struggles just a little bit. I do. I think he struggles a little bit, and I think this is Beasley week. But I like that lineup too.
No, well, here was my thinking, and again, this is what you told John last week. You gotta tinker with it, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So here's where my tinkering mentality comes into play. You make Tonyan your flex, and then you free up more room in the Beasley slot at wide receiver. Thoughts on that?
Listen, Tonyan.
Maybe you could afford John Brown now instead of Beasley.
Tanyan's great value. Okay, $3,600 for Tonyan is great value. No, he's obviously touchdown dependent. He's the thing with Travis Kelce is he can get 10 catches without a touchdown, and he's not touchdown dependent, right? So I think that's the biggest issue. If you do go with that theory, then you have to make sure the other two guys you put in are non-touchdown dependent as well, because you need those PPR numbers.
Nope, I got you. So the only thing I was thinking, if in the scenario that I developed for my team,
okay,
I got Hill and Diggs and Tanyan,
yes,
and you got Kelsey and Beasley and Valdez Scanlon. Which three sounds better?
I like your three better.
Right. I'm not. I'm just saying that's why you have to tinker.
Yeah, honestly, I do. I like it better. So here's what I suggest. I say we play both lineups.
Do both, yeah.
We will.
Right? Honestly, I know Dan's doing like 20, but I love it. But now we'll put them out. We'll have A or B, and then what we'll do is we'll do A or B, and then we'll throw it up for vote. We'll give everybody our two lineups, A or B, see who likes what better. We're gonna play both of them anyway, and see what one works out best.
Yeah, we'll put it on Twitter tonight.
Yeah. Hopefully, it'll be on our personal accounts if I can't.
Yeah, right.
The other one unlocked by Monday. Put it that way.
I have a question about your lineup. So how much does that leave on the table? Does it leave anything on the table?
I had $200 remaining.
Do you fear it being duplicated? That's my only question. Because I specifically this week, especially like leaving some money on the table to differentiate myself.
The only duplication I think is going to be from the people watching our show.
That's thousands and thousands of people, though. So
no, but seriously, how many people would have been able to squeeze in Adams, Hill, and Diggs into their lineup,
right?
And then make the configurations? Maybe plenty.
I mean that's why you tinker with things. I mean, because I'm going to talk about that later when we switch over to NBA. That's how I was able to get a big 4 in my lineup tonight instead of a big 3, just by tinkering. And that's what you have to do. See where that money lies.
No, but the bottom line is I like what we did. I just happened to have played around a little earlier, so my mind was a little jaded. But no, we put a nice lineup together. And I believe I missed one of the messages. Someone played our lineup last week and they said they did very well.
That was Rich Drummond. Rich, thanks, buddy, checking in. Rich said he played it. Yeah.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you heard, and you heard my lineup, so you heard the A and B, so play both, play combination of the two, and hopefully next week we'll have all positive things to say about both lineups.
So Dan, before we go, what was because I'm doing some snapshots of the lineups right now. So, what was your what? Are you doing, Jason?
Oh, go ahead. I just did ours, and then Dan can.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, I'll just have Dan send me his. That's all.
All right. I'll send it to you later.
That works.
Okie dokie. All right. Let me see what. All right. I guess perhaps we should segue to our next fantasy sport of a little NBA action.
Let's roll. So
I guess the first thing we should talk about is we've been doing a Friday league. We're 2 weeks in, and we've got this dominant force in the league. Some guy named DGREEN 1355 that's really doing really well in the league. Came in third 2 weeks ago, and I think he came in first last week.
Let me see. Yeah, I came in fifth last week.
I'm playing around everyone. That happens to be me. I came in I came in third 2 weeks ago and first last week. And the reason I bring this up, and I'm not trying to be cute. I am not Mr. NBA. I'm not. Tony is Mr. NBA.
No, I try. I'm not Mr. NBA yet.
And I'm sure Andre and Al are in that league, and I'm right now kicking some tush. But
let me tell you something. Don't look at my NBA analyst league because I've been averaging. My experts league, I'm like 14th, so I gotta play it right. You know what I mean? I'm trying though. Having a rough beginning. That's all I gotta say. Rough beginning.
So I don't know if Tony, if you have the ability to the results are inconsequential. The reason I'm bringing up our league is with DFS, and I've learned so much since joining Ratio Sports. I was primarily a football guy, and I do hockey. Jason's always done golf, but I've dabbled with basketball. But I've learned so much just by watching Tony's shows before I got involved. And now I have a strategy, and I'm not Mr. Basketball. It's all about the research. It's all about the trends. It's all about staying on top of the injury situations. And I literally put together a lineup based on that Timberwolves game was canceled on us last week. I forgot who they were playing. That game was canceled, and I had I forgot who I had in my lineup, but I had to pull someone out of my lineup, and then I had to switch things around. And so my point is, this segment was going to be, how do you really attack and build your DFS basketball lineup? With me, it's a little bit of the eye test, a lot of research, and like 5 to 10 game trends in a player. And if by chance you've got like a Dwayne Bacon is the only shooting guard available to play on the team, you plug him in.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, Cole Anthony was the only option. You plug him in. I took a flyer last week on what's his last name is Walker. Two last names. It was Alexander Walker.
You mean Colby Stein? Oh, no, Alexander Walker. Yeah.
Alexander Walker. Again, his team was shorthanded. He was going to get a lot of minutes. So the Walkers and the Bacons of the world last week were very low value, and they were good plays because their team had COVID issues and were shorthanded. So that's the kind of stuff you just have to stay on top of. And that's why I've been successful in the short time that I've been doing it, is because of and Tony's theory of having an inside guy and an outside guy on the same team. I follow that as well. So I'm learning lessons, but I'm also, if Jason and Tony know me well enough to know that I'm type A, concrete, sequential. Anal? I really do my research and
say anal.
Anal. Correct. A more engineering term for anal, but yes, yeah. I turn switches on an awful lot too. But anyway, so yeah, that's my spiel. Alexander Walker, correct. Oh, good, Richard, you're a genius. Now, so Jason, let me hear your method of building a DFS lineup. Not the ones you've been entering of late, of course, but just in general.
First off, I just want to throw this out there as a disclaimer. Craig Hill, chill 1976. I'm seeing him tomorrow for the first time in like a month at work. So you guys are all going down this week because I'm going to pick his brain all day tomorrow. Even though he wants to talk about work, I'm going to talk about DFS the entire time. So
I like it.
You guys are all in trouble. Anyways, no, I stick to, I think the most important thing is something you touched on already, is injury news. That is, I think, by far the most important thing in NBA. You need to find 2-3 guys in your lineup that, so-and-so that gets decent minutes, but now the starter's out. He's going to be the starter tonight. That, like New Orleans a couple weeks ago was a great situation like that. Lonzo Ball was out, and so was Bledsoe. So you had a situation where you were playing 2 backups, and 2 or 3 games in a row, they both hit. So I think value is by far the most important thing. I think that's the way to go 100%. And then how you build your lineup is there's a lot of different ways to go, but I've also been using Tony's strategy this week too, of doing guard and then a big from the same team. And I think that I've been more successful in the past week than I have been in a long time. And so I kind of tinker a little bit in NBA. I'm not as confident in NBA as I am in other sports in my lineup building. So I throw different strategies out. I'll try to do the small and a big from the same team. I try to do almost like a stars and scrubs. Like I find a lot of value, and then I try to hit on some, superstars and try to get 4 guys in my lineup. And I've kind of come to the realization that if you can get 1 superstar, maybe 2 in your lineup, and then kind of build the mid-range guys in your lineup, I feel like I have a lot of success doing that instead of trying to reach for guys and hoping that all the big guys hit big.
And Tone, I'd like to build on what Jason said and ask you a question, because again, we kid about our standings, but Tony really is the expert on this. I think my lineup last week almost did not have the inside player and the outside player because I was so cognizant of the injury factor and how that could benefit me, that I almost said, okay, the value of the players that are going to get minutes outweigh the inside outside scenario. But the other thing that I'm starting to really analyze is when you get a player that you're almost guaranteed to blow out the other team, it's killing your lineup. So I'm almost trying to pick players on crappy teams that are going to stay in the lineup in the garbage time. Tone, am I right? Thoughts on that?
No, big time. I mean, I was one of my bullet points written down because
sorry.
The thing, no, I'm glad you touched on it because it reminded me because I have something else written down. I was piggybacking off of Jason too. So one of the guys was Paul George. A couple of weeks ago, I forget who they played, but the game was a blowout. I paid $9,000 for Paul George. He got me like 20 points because he only played like 25 minutes, and that's the bad part. So there's so many. COVID and health is number one, but I will tell you what number two is back to backs. And I think you really have to be careful because I learned this. You guys know I do a lot of work for Fox Sports a Gambler. I do a lot of their, I am their fantasy guy. But I do segments every single day, and I pick guys out, low value guys. I'm like they call me like the king of low value, right? I try, but Jalen Brunson was a guy I was building up for a couple weeks. And the reason why is because of the back-to-backs. Because even though Luka Doncic plays on that team, guess what? When they play back-to-backs, Luka's minutes drop from 38 to 35. Okay, those 3 extra minutes on Jalen Brunson's clock at 1 point per minute is 3 extra points. If you times that by 2, that's 6. That just turned Jalen Brunson from a 13-point player to a 22-point player for $3,100. So these are the kind of things, because I'm telling you, there's a reason why people win these contests. They look at these things. They don't just pick players. Look, it's a big deal. It's Philadelphia 76ers, same thing. Joel Embiid, we talked about it on Heat Ratio Live, where Joel Embiid, I think, is going to be rested during games instead of taking nights off, which means be careful of the back-to-back. Joel is $10,000. He only played 22 minutes. So you have to. So Dwight Howard at 3,500 plays those extra 10 minutes. He's the better value. So I think that's another thing that I look at all the time that you have to be very cognizant of.
That's actually an amazing point. Really. I'm like taking notes to everything you just said.
You know what?
It's brilliant.
A lot. Tonight, one of my guys was Dwayne Bacon. He $3,600. Well, guess what? If you look at the line, the way it was constructed tonight, he's going to play us some extra minutes. He's a low value guy. Tonight, to go back to what Jason was saying when we talk about formulating against superstars, I was able to get 4 guys. For me, the first time ever, big 4 in my lineup. Now, will it work? I don't know. But I was able to get Sabonis, Jeremy Grant, Oladipo, and Paul George all in my lineup. But that's because I took guys like Dunn, like Nunn from Miami as my point guard. Guys like Wiseman as my center from Golden State. Okay, but I'm just looking at it at a facet of if I could get 4 superstars and they each give me those 40 or 50 points, like I can tell you right now, Kendrick Nunn already, he only cost me $4,000. He has 15 points and they've only played 1 quarter. Now, he's already given me my ROI. So again, and here's the other thing. Sorry to get long-winded, but I think of these things on the fly. Also look at, I'll give you a perfect example. Nunn, he gives you 15 points in 1 quarter. That makes up for the fact that if you did spend $10,000 on a guy like Sabonis and maybe he has a little bit of off night or he doesn't get garbage time in a blowout, then Kendrick Nunn, he basically picked up that slack. So it's kind of like a fail-safe method as well.
Yeah, it's people.
As long as you pick the right guy.
That's right. It
doesn't always work. You just got to pick the right guy.
I mean, that my lineup last week, which and again I won, but it wasn't a strong week for anyone. It was just because I think the previous week I had 30 more points and I came in 3rd place. I actually, we just talked about with fantasy, the football angle. I tinkered and I screwed myself, even though I wound up winning. I had Bacon and Dort in my lineup. And I pulled them out for Alexander Walker and Marcus Morris. who had significantly less points combined. And if I had left Dort and Bacon in the lineup, I would have probably exceeded the 300 mark because I think Dort went off like 45 points or something like that on Friday.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't listen to me. Listen, what Tony just said was gospel for crying out loud. I mean, my goodness. It's exactly. Like I'm driving a Pinto. He's a Rolls Royce right here.
Let me tell you, all I know is I'm sending a nasty grain to Austin Rivers because he's the only reason why I finished 5th on Friday night, damn it. Austin Rivers, he blew on Friday. And I don't know what he was doing, but he won't play, man. He killed me.
And it's funny, getting back to Jason's boss, because I follow him because the past 2 weeks we've been like on top of each other in the standings. Yep. I think he had Drummond and still lost.
He did.
That's hard to do. So I rub that in his nose. You know what I'm saying? How do you lose with a guy that had 79 points? Or what was that? What his total was, Tone?
Yeah.
Yep. 279.
All right.
No, Drummond. Yeah, he was 70
individually.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
79. Unreal.
Yeah, and it's funny. Both Jason and I. Well, it's not Jason's center anymore. It used to be, but I was never a big Drummond fan. You're right. Garbage means a lot. Yeah. And Jason wasn't an Embiid fan, and both of them are rocking the fantasy world this year.
Oof.
So, but again, fantasy doesn't always equate to the ball player you need on your team. It equates to money and statistics.
Another thing real fast, Dan.
Sure.
But it's in my head, and we're talking about, how important it is. Look at the James Harden trade and looking from the Brooklyn standpoint. So I'll be honest with you, tonight, Kyrie came back. I did not. I would have normally KD or Harden or both are a fixture in my lineup. I stayed away from all three just because I want to see how it plays out. But the other night, you had a guy like DeAndre Jordan who was 4,300. If you knew that Jared Allen was traded and you knew that all of a sudden, just by accident, he was going to definitely be worth that kind of money. You know what I mean? Dwight Howard, when Joel Embiid went out, scored 40 points. He was only a $4,300 player. So you have to look at it's there. Trust me, people. The money is there, but you just have to do a little work at it and you'll get it. I promise.
And a little, if you follow us, ask us these questions. We will get back to you. I mean, listen to the man. Reach out to the man, and you will get.
We live for this, man.
Invaluable knowledge.
We love it.
All right,
we love it.
Staying on this topic to some extent, I'm going to bring up guys that we've all heard. Tony, you've mentioned these guys, how they've done well for you, but when I play them, they shit the bed for me. crap the bed. Sorry,
that's all
might
good,
be watching. Man. I'm just kidding. And they're guys that I've been fortunate when I play them. They have always done well for me. So that I'm going to give you three guys on each side of the coin. The guys that just do not do well for me, that I'm bad luck for them apparently, is Cam Reddish, Joe Harris, and Gary Trent Jr. I can never do well with them. I've heard you've done well. The guys that I've been lucky with, and this is before he became a superstar, was Jeremy Grant. Brandon Clark has always done well for me, and Jordan Clarkson. Those guys have been my value guys that I've plugged in and have done pretty good with. So those are my 6, 3 on each side of the coin. Jason, who are the guys that just rub you the wrong way and do that are on your dead list and that you'll always play?
Well, so there's 2 of them. So to start the year, I played Julius Randle pretty much every single day when I played DFS. So to start the year, every single time I played him, he blew up. I loved him. He was my favorite play. Well, the last 2 times I've played, I've been the cooler for him. So he's had the old snowflake twice in a row when I've played him. So that kills you. When a guy that's almost $10,000 misses, it kills you. And the other one, I'm going to blame you guys for this one because you got me on the Embiid train last week, and I was all about Joel Embiid. Well, so Thursday night came, and I'm like, I'm going to play Embiid in my lineup. 17 points he scored. So if you guys ever are going against somebody that has a superstar on their team, let me know who that superstar is, and I can put him in my lineup, and I'll probably cool him down a little bit. So that's perfect for you guys.
Well, real fast, because I'll lose it. And Tone and I live in Philly, as a lot of the viewers do, and we've got Carson Wentz as our quarterback, and we've got Ben Simmons as our point guard. They're essentially the same person, but killing us in different sports, with their diviness or whatever you want to call it. But even though I I've been ripped thousand. Ben's triple doubles drive me crazy because I came up with I'm the ruler of all sports. If your triple doubles don't add up to 36 points or more, they don't count, because I'm so sick of his triple doubles. But it helps with DFS. Would you agree, Tone?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely helps with. Listen, you can be DFS superstar. It's all good. That doesn't mean you can play.
And that's but that's what he is. So he is a steady Freddy in DFS, Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but he is.
But he frustrates the hottie in regular basketball.
Well, all right, sorry, Jay. Well, what's the old saying go? He fills a stat sheet up, right?
Yeah,
he does.
The Bobby Abreu of basketball.
Yes, I like that.
It's kind of like, Draymond Green a couple years ago when he was in his prime with his defense. It was like, he'd score 10 points, but he'd put up 13, 14 boards, 8 assists, couple blocks, couple steals. It's like that's what you need. He's one of those guys that, like, he's probably better in DFS than he is in real basketball. And that's kind of how I feel about Ben Simmons too. As far as my plays that I love, Jeremy Grant has been my favorite one this year. He is on. It kind of goes off Dan's point a little bit of playing good players on bad teams. Like, he's not a superstar, but he's a star, and he's on a team that is god awful. They're probably the worst team in basketball. So it seems like he puts up a career high almost every single game that they play. So love him. To go along with what Dan said as well. Clarkson, I love him too. It's like he's just consistent. He's never gonna blow you out of the water. He's not gonna score 50, but he's always in that 30-point range. So I love playing him too. And then, as much as I hate this guy from a basketball standpoint, Andre Drummond, it's just like, he, with the amount of rebounds and blocks he gets, he's almost a staple. And it kind of seems like, I don't know if it's because of the team he's on or, nobody really thinks of the Cavaliers, but he always seems like he's a little bit underpriced. And he definitely was last Friday. And I feel like when he's underpriced like that, you got to take advantage of him in your lineups.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
All right, Mr. Commissioner.
Yo, my kill list is long, man. My kill list is long. Here's and I'm only going to go through, but I'm going to tell you why. It's because this is different from football. In football, the amount of good players is a lot less than it is in basketball. And if you don't produce for me, I'm putting you out. Like LaMelo Ball, get lost. Okay, I put you in a lineup one time, you shit the bed, you're out. Never again. Julius Randle, I'm with you, Jason. Goodbye. See you later. Not starting him again. I don't care. I'll find somebody else. Okay, it's just the way it's going to work. Austin Rivers, forget it. He's already been in the garbage dump. Forget it. He did one time. So again, Terry Rozier, another guy. Couple games, good games. I put him in. Shits the bed. He's out. Okay, now the guys that I like. Okay, I really like. Another very underpriced. Clint Capella. Can you give the guy some love? Yes. I don't get it. I mean, he's never been higher than 7,500. Actually, tonight he was 7,600. But he's legitimately scoring 30, 40, 50, almost 60 points in DraftKings. How do you not put this guy as a fixture in your lineup? He's got to be in there. Another guy. The last two games, and this is the Victor Oladipo effect. How about Doug McBuckets? Doug McDermott out there in Indiana. He's getting more clock. 25, 30, 32 minutes a game. He's scoring 30 plus. It's a tremendous value for 4,700. You can't go wrong. I mean, I love James Wiseman. He's another guy for Golden State. They're not a great team. They're an average team. He's never higher than 46, 4,700, and he consistently gives you 20 to 30. I mean, these are guys that I love and are fixtures in my lineup. Brandon Clark, you mentioned, he was another guy. He seems to be always in that $5,000 range, and he's really good. But for locks, I've said it. You mentioned Jeremy Grant. I just did. He was my warrior today for the gambler, for my vignette for fantasy. I love Jeremy Grant. Never thought he would have been the top point producer for Detroit this year, but he is. Another guy to keep an eye on. Kristaps right now. In Dallas, I know he's just getting his legs back with him. Right. Eventually he's going to start to take over with Luke and form that tandem out there. Last guy we'll mention. I feel like Dan mentioned all these names, but
yeah, you just named the whole NBA.
But Chris Middleton, And I've never been a Middleton guy. And if my son's going to watch this back, he knows, Dad, you said Middleton was trash. And I always mess around with him, right, all the time, because I'm like, Chris Middleton does not for me. I'll tell you what, he's consistent this year. Very, very, he's earning a paycheck. So when you can't get those guys like the Bradley Beals or the Hardens in your lineup, you take maybe about $1,500 difference, you grab Chris Middleton, he's giving you 40 every night. So really, really got to put in your lineup.
I guess my final question is, if I'm trying to pretend that I'm a viewer that wants to ask you a question. What is the most, of all the things we tied in, would you say that the most important things would be, obviously watching the injury? Would it be almost guaranteeing minutes? Like you almost have to target the bad teams. I wrote down your list, and other than Chris Middleton, you named players on 500 or below ball clubs. So is that almost like a subconscious thing, if not conscious thing, that you now have to almost target when making your lineup, target bad teams that have decent players?
It's so tough. It is. It's so tough. Jason, what do you do?
All right, let me ask you this question. If you have the superstar and one of them's Harden, and Brooklyn's probably going to win most games, right? And I don't know, I just Brandon Ingram or something.
It's tough.
You try to get your value.
Well, you know what it is? It's two sides of the spectrum, right? So it's like, okay, I want to get a guy on a bad team, but if they get beat up and they get locked up, the dude's not even getting garbage points because they're just going to put a towel over his head. He's going to sit in the corner and watch his, number two guy in there perform because they're down 25, right? So it's so much different than football in a sense that, garbage time in football has always been huge because they don't take guys out except for maybe the quarterback. Michael Thomas is still going to be playing if they're down 25. And he's going to get that weak touchdown. DJ Chark is going to get that weak touchdown. So it's a little different than NBA, I would say. But it's a good point. It's a good thing to look at. I don't hang my hat on it all the time.
All right. Well,
yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I think it kind of goes back and forth a little bit. I feel like for NBA, I feel like you almost need to look at the matchup more than other sports. I know football, you're going to look at the matchup a little bit. If the Chiefs are playing, say, the Jets or somebody like that, that's really bad. They're probably going to put up a lot of points, but chances are if they put up a lot of points, Patrick Mahomes is going to put up a lot of points too. Basketball is different. You brought up Paul George earlier today.
Yep.
It's the same with a lot of players. If Brooklyn's winning by 25 points, they're taking Harden out, they're taking Durant out, and so I don't know. I kind of look at the matchups, I think, more so than anything else, just because I want a game that's going to be relatively close. High scoring is important, yes, but I want a game that the team's not going to get blown out and the team's probably not going to blow out the other team as well. And to kind of touch base on Brooklyn, I forget if Tony or Dan brought it up, but that's a team that for me right now is a stay away because I think exactly what Tony said earlier about Kyrie coming back. It's like I think it was 2 days ago, Harden had 63 points in fantasy.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was actually kind of surprised by it because I didn't think he would get that much usage. But now you have Kyrie back and you have three of the top 6 guys in the NBA in terms of usage on the same team. So how's that going to play out when they're all, say they play in a close game in the fourth quarter, who's going to get the usage? Who's going to get the touches? Who's the offense going to be going through? It's kind of hard to tell at this point. So it's kind of scary to play any of those guys at this point.
No, I'm with you 100%. I completely agree. And just so you know, Jason, you got me looking at my lineup now, and you mentioned Snowflake, and my boy Sabonis has got me a big fat snowflake right now. So he might be the next one on the kill list. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yep.
He's coming up.
But Nunn's balancing it out, right?
Let me tell you something. Kendrick Nunn tonight, 25 fantasy points right now, and they still have 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. He costs $4,000. That's the kind of value that you have to find, and it's there. And if again, real quick, another hint on that: open his bio up. Don't look at what his 10-game average is. You have to stop looking at that. You have to look at the last couple games, realize the scenarios, look what his salary was compared to what he was doing. And also, don't just look at the minutes, look at his attempts. That's one thing I always look at. I want a guy who's going to shoot a lot. A guy might have scored 40 points, but he only might have shot 10 times, but he went to the line 10 times. I want a guy who's going to shoot 15 times because at least that gives me more opportunity for production. So look at those things as well.
Well, gentlemen, that's my topics. My script has come to an end. But viewers, if if you didn't hear anything tonight, I hope you heard how to build lineups, because we did it in football. We did it in basketball. Jason's got a tremendous show every Monday. Fairway to Heaven.
Love that.
Because of him, I've started, Tone. I've got 1,000 golf lineups now, Tone.
I love it. I love
it. Well, give or take. So, so I have a show on Thursday called Flyer and Ice. I do DF hockey lineups. So there's so much that Heat Ratio Sports is bringing to the table. Tone, I'll let you wrap it up from here. But I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, Tone.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. But before we go, we got a quick question: Clippers versus Kings thoughts. And obviously, talking about players tonight, West Coast game. Going to be a late game. This is a back-to-back game, and I don't mean for both teams. This is a double back. So they just played the Kings. They just played against each other. They're playing each other again, kind of like what Boston and Philly are going to do. I love Paul George tonight. I'm honest with you, and I like
Fox.
Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes, I think, has been a really good value this year that a lot of people are forgetting about. But I do like those two guys. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Paul George, for me, stands out in that game 100%. I just feel like he's getting – I don't know if his confidence is building this year or he's getting more – he's kind of become the man, I feel like, for the Clippers a little bit this year. He's putting up a lot of stats in a lot of categories. So I like Paul George. I like building my lineup around Paul George pretty much always if he's on the slate. So I agree with you.
No, I think that's great advice. And if you want to go on the other end, if you want to maybe – get a reasonable flex player, or center, maybe Rashawn Holmes,
another guy for Sacramento.
Yeah, he puts up decent numbers every week, and Buddy Hield puts up nice numbers too, and he's not outrageously priced. And one of my favorite players in the entire NBA is De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
So he puts up monster numbers.
He just put up monster numbers the other night.
Yeah, he did.
Monster game, and there's a team
and that's a game like tonight. They're going to be, Yep.
No, you're right. And we talked about good teams, bad teams, right? This is a perfect example. This is a bad team with we just saying Holmes, Fox, Hield, Barnes. I mean, Barnes is averaging 17 for the year. He's a sneaky. All four of those guys. If Fox is getting high, but besides that, most of those guys are pretty reasonable in value. So experiment
with the bad team lineup strategy and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Rich, before we go, Rich says Barnes, he has his lineup made up. Have in my line. See, you already got Barnes' lineup. Good. I love it, man. And there you go for your golf. You said just start watching golf and now NHL. Love it, guys. So
thank you, Richard.
But the piggyback on what Dan said, obviously on air, I thank him. Does a tremendous job. That this team that we've assembled here all together, big things coming up. I promise you that. As you see, I like to hear when people are actually following our feedback and it works. Because if it didn't work, we look like a bunch of goons. But sometimes, hey, listen, we're not perfect, right? And we're very, it's very easy to make mistakes. But I will tell you. One thing for sure, we will not be afraid to face our mistakes. That's for sure. But as always, a fair way to have it, Jason. I love the name. I don't know if that was between you and Phil or who, but you got that tremendous name. I love it. I do.
Thank you. No, that shows fun. And honestly, I love the other sports. I'm not gonna lie. I sit here and I love every sport. I'll play any sport I can. I love DFS. I love the competition. But golf, I got into like 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't even really watch golf more than a casual fan. And my buddy told me about, DraftKings and DFS, and I started playing it. And now it's my favorite DFS sport. It's probably the most variable sport in terms of like Dustin Johnson can come out and miss a cut in any given week, and your whole lineup is screwed. But I put a lot of research into it. We put a lot of time into it. That shows early in the week, so you can follow both of us to give updated plays as the week goes on. Obviously, it's just like any sport where it's like, you have your first thoughts, and then as the week goes on, you might switch it a little bit. But yeah, I'm pumped for it. We want to know. Just remember too, like in DFS, is don't get down on yourself. DFS is hard. In any sport, it's hard. You could have 5 weeks in a row where you absolutely bleep the bed and you have a terrible lineup. But all it takes is 1 or 2 huge weeks that can pay for your entire year. And that's what, like a couple weeks ago, I had a week like that in football where I had struggled for maybe 4 weeks in a row. And then, boom, I hit 1 week, and all of a sudden I'm in the green for the season again. So it doesn't take much, and just be patient. Believe in your process and do the same thing every week. That's my thing in any sport.
Oh, Dan, He used our word, Dan. He used the Phil
Trust the
word.
process.
Trust the process. And I'm going to quiz my panelists for DFS hockey. What's the first thing you do?
Goalie.
Build around the goalie.
See that?
And stack from 2 to 3 teams.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I remember the goalie. I remember the
No,
stat.
no. But the goalie is the most important thing.
But you know, I will say both of you guys, because I'm going to be honest, because it's a perfect format for this, because I'm not a hockey guy and I'm not a golf guy. Now, but here's the thing, and this is it's like a backdoor compliment. I'm being honest, where I'm not a hockey guy, but I literally, not only because I'm helping produce the show, but when I listen to you and Vance talk, I take it, and then when I start watching the NHL tonight, or I start watching, I'm like, oh, damn, dude, I know who that guy is now. Like, you know, it opens me up to different things. Golf, I was the typical, I got into golf because of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods brought me to the golf. I used to laugh, and Jason will like this. I'm going to throw some big nod names out there, but I remember when, you know, God rest his soul, my Uncle Jimmy died many years ago, but he was a golfer, and we would go over to barbecues, and on Sundays, he lived in Jersey, nice big house, nice big pool, and all the guys would be sitting in there. I was probably like 12. They were watching golf. I'm looking at guys like Payne Stewart and Chichi Rodriguez, right? And Ernie Els. I'm going, look at these nerds. I don't want to watch this. Look at this dude's pants. Like, this is the boringest sport in the world. And then Tiger came, you know, as I got older, and I had so many memories of Tiger and Phil, but that opened me up to golf. And then I kind of fell off, and then listening the other night to Phil and Jason talk about names that they were vague to me, but they kind of enhanced what they meant. Now I'm excited to watch. Listen, I don't even care if it's the Honda Open. I'm in. I'm watching. Right? So, you know, and it's great. And I think that's Rich Texas says Freddie Couples, another great guy, right?
Freddie,
Back
yeah.
legend, right?
Well, I'm gonna challenge my old heads out there.
Uh-oh.
I know I look younger than these two guys, but I'm not. I was a teenager during the Greg Norman years, and that was my Tiger Woods. Greg Norman was an aggressive golfer and involved. Yep. He was in every tournament. He pissed away a lot of tournaments, especially the majors. But he was the guy that got me into golf. I have a Greg Norman putter that I still have in my bag. So my love of golf is right up there with Jason's, but it started a little bit longer.
Hey, no John Daly references. What's up with that?
I remember where I was when he won the PGA. I was interning with the Redskins in '91.
Yeah.
Nice. You know what, too, about golf, too? Like I said, I was a casual golf fan, kind of like you, Tony. Like, I would watch the majors. I would watch if Tiger played, if Phil was in contention or whatever like that. But I was never the guy that would watch the Honda Open or some, like, bogus tournament on the weekends. But when you're playing DFS and you happen to have 3 guys in the top 10 or 15, and if you get somebody, you start figuring it out, okay, in front of me, these guys don't have, Jordan Spieth is a poor example, but these guys don't have Jordan Spieth, okay? Well, I do. So if he gets first place, I'm going to shoot up this leaderboard. So suddenly your interest is peaked. You're watching maybe not necessarily just the last pairing, but you might be watching the guy that's in 10th, hoping he can get to 5th, knowing that you're going to win money. So when money's involved, it makes it a heck of a lot more exciting, whether you're betting or playing DFS. So.
And it goes for every sport too, doesn't it? I mean, you have De'Aaron Fox in your lineup, and you're not now he's your favorite player if he's lighting it up for you.
Yeah,
absolutely. It is fascinating. Look at fantasy. Like red zone changed to me how fantasy sports is viewed, and a lot of people that are anti fantasy are using all these as examples of how it's ruining sports. I say au contraire. I think if you can start falling in love with players that you didn't ordinarily follow, it opens up your knowledge and your horizon to the entire sport that you're following. And in our case, we follow everything. We talk about 4 for 4 golf. We're 5 for 5.
Yes,
I'm not a soccer guy or NASCAR. I'll throw that out there.
We're actually 6 for 6. Because because Right? Yeah, I mean, like not
Axe
even
throwing. What I forget.
Well, no, if you're separating sports from fantasy,
Excellent.
right?
Fun.
So now, I could talk NASCAR too, but I would love to do a bowling show. I'm a bowler, so I'll talk bowling.
Yeah, Tony's a great bowler.
But my thing is, we could just talk in all different directions, which is great. And you're right, Dan. I've heard that argument for so long. Rich, he alludes to the same thing, and I used to argue it all the time. Like, no, man, I learned my knowledge from fantasy. Like, my sons are 13 and 15, and a lot of their knowledge and players that they learned is from playing fantasy. They learn with these, and then they watch them on TV. So it's not a bad thing as long as you do it the right way. Look, I got it. Look, Rich says, I'll do it. I'm a bowler. Pete Weber all day. If you would not get
Pete Weber,
I know Pete Weber. Coach, okay. I love watching him. He is charismatic. He's a prick, which I love. He takes my persona. He could just be named Jigsaw too, but
you don't want to. Anybody who I hate when I see players, a lot of football players do this, where they're like, I don't, give a crap about your fantasy team. It's like, how good fantasy is for the game. It's like, I feel like I'm kind of the perfect example of that. I absolutely love football, right? I can't get enough of football. I have probably the worst franchise long term to be a football fan of in the league. I mean, the Lions have just I remember getting so upset when I was younger, 10, 12 years old, being so disappointed in that team. I don't have a team like you guys have the Eagles. You're diehard Eagles. They've brought you good in your life. The Lions have brought me one playoff win in my entire life. So I've never had a great football team, but I love football. Therefore, I love fantasy. And it's funny how too when you play fantasy, you remember when you hit big in a lineup, you're going to remember, hey, that week that I hit big, I had that Tampa Bay stack. I'm not going to forget that. I'm going to always remember, oh yeah, Tom Brady won me a bunch of money. That's awesome. I don't have a team, so therefore I just love the sport. So fantasy's awesome for me.
Yeah. And not to get long-winded, but we talked about on this show how many different theories that we put into play. You only learn those theories by actually watching the game. Like you're breaking down the game, especially in football. You're watching the all 22 and you're saying, okay, how many times did the pass protection break down? Maybe that's not the quarterback that I want, right? I mean, there's so many different things that brings you into the game. So I'm with you, Jay. I can't stand when players say that because you know what? They're all hypocrites because those damn dudes play the same thing. They're all playing it too. I don't want to hear it. I know they're playing it.
That's why Gurley scored that touchdown.
Yeah. Listen.
He had himself on his team.
I'm going to tell you, we'll finish out on this because it brings a great memory to me. It has to do with Sean Payton. I'll never forget. This is where I knew there's no way Sean Payton doesn't play fantasy football. Or somebody would say, it was a Monday night game. I'll never forget it. I had a win. It wasn't like the championship. It was like week 7 or something. And I had Jimmy Graham. And it was when Jimmy Graham was blowing up for the Saints. And it was a blowout, right? And Jimmy Graham, I needed literally 3 points. And it was the third quarter, and they benched them. I'm like, they took all the starters out, and I'm like, damn, I can't believe I lost. They were up by 24 in the fourth quarter. All of a sudden, they're at the red zone. It was 1st and 10, and I see Jimmy Graham grab a helmet, and Sean Payton signals for Jimmy Graham, goes onto the field, and catches a touchdown. Right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Dude, somebody had him in their fantasy team because somebody was like, yo, get Jimmy out there. We need 4 more points. No other reason why he would have been in that game. 0. So they can say what they want, but they definitely play it.
Hey, Tim, we have to promise the viewers something. After, I guess, the Super Bowl, let's do a segment on our best fantasy teams that we fell in love with as participants. And some like moments like that. I have a Desmond Clark story I have to share with you in that segment a few weeks from now.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Listen, and that's one thing. We're always new stuff. Dan, you had a great idea too, talking about, maybe we do for each sport, we'll do like an all-time classic fantasy draft, like a snake draft of, you get to pick your running back, and from different eras, maybe 80s, 90s, 2000s. It'll be pretty interesting to see where we put these guys. So it's something fun. But what I will say is, Rich went old school Earl Anthony.
Big glasses. I remember him.
Yes, absolutely. Well, he's a legend, right?
He's a
But
left.
then you
Yeah,
got to
he's
go Walter
tremendous.
Ray. You got to go Walter Ray Williams Jr. And then you got to go Norm Duke. And you got to go Parker Bone. And you got to go Chris Barnes. I mean, these are the guys. Yeah, exactly. These are the guys you got to go. So
I don't even know who these people are.
so you got to go watch bowling, man. You got
Bowling's like watching a DFS golf show.
I tried. I tried doing bowling betting. They had prop bets for bowling.
Oh gosh,
yeah, they really do, man. It was pretty fun, pretty fun. So maybe we'll get a golf show. We have a golf show, so maybe we'll get a bowling show here too. Oh wow, look at this. Rich said he bowled against Parker Bone. That's huge. That's interesting. We're going to get that story next time, Rich. Absolutely. But as always, let's end the show up. We did good. Hour 15. Keep it. Get to know the name Heat Ratio Sports, please. All the support, everybody's been tremendous. Follow the YouTube page and subscribe to it. That's where all our content will be. All the shows will live. All the different these guys, you're going to see them on many different venues, different personalities. Maybe Jason wakes up at 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon from a nap and says, "I got a theory," and he wants to put a video on YouTube for 5 minutes. I mean, these are the kind of things that we're going to bring you. It's different content, but it's. What did I say, guys? Consistent content creation. That's one, and credibility. One thing I want to say is credible. So, as always, no attacking people. Let's just be, too much attacking in the world right now, man. So let's enjoy sports together as one another and as a family. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next week.